There's different technology approaches to building autonomy and scaling autonomy. There's also different deployment strategies. There's the own your own network with Waymo One. There's the partner with Uber strategy, which is another. And then there's the personally owned, which we see that Waymo is very publicly talking to Toyota. But let's start with Uber because there's this debate goes on. Waymo needs Uber, Uber needs Waymo. Dara said they're frenemies, but yet they're friends. Where do you see this going?
I think right now they view them as a very good partner in the near term, but I just don't think that over the longer term that decision has been made. And who knows how private ownership impacts that one way or another. So, I think we'll see how that evolves. I think investors are going to be very focused on every new market that gets announced. Will that be a Waymo One? Will it be Uber? There seems to be this view that all future markets will be with Uber. I think you probably shouldn't expect that. And then there's Lyft out there. Like, where is Lyft? And when does their partnership get announced? And if they don't have one, and Waymo announces multiple new markets and Lyft is not included, when do investors really start to get concerned on kind of where Lyft is with the leading technology provider of autonomy today, Waymo?
Where's Waldo or where's Lyft? That really raises the question. Now, I want to stay on this Uber thing for a minute. If you look at Tesla with the Robotaxi, with it, they have the software you're going to be able to operate and hail a Robotaxi, be able to put your own vehicle, all using the Tesla Robotaxi app. Waymo One, in theory, could add personally owned, which goes back to why the heck would Waymo need Uber? Dara will sit here and tell you demand, 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 but why?
I mean, Uber would claim it's just the demand side of it, right? And that especially if it's a privately owned Waymo driver powering a Toyota or whatever OEMs that they have, that if that customer wants to not just use it for themselves, but generate some money out of it, that Uber's generating the most demand for them. So that's theoretically the argument, but that's, we're probably at least 5 years away from scale private ownership of a lot of these cars.
Any insights or speculation to how long these Waymo Uber deals last in these two markets? Are they multi-year?
It's hard to know, but again, going back to what Dara said on a podcast this week, I think he talked about look, let's get the markets established. Let's do 1 year deals. And if we have to review to see who's going to get the economics, we'll do that in the future. So I have no idea, but it sounds to me like Uber prefers to have short-term deals.
Maybe the way that Uber wins, which we've talked about on several podcasts, is fragmentation, consumer choice. Consumer could put the vehicles on there. It'll box out Waymo. So if you buy it or you license it, you can put it on the Uber network. Uber's going to get their products. They're going to get their vehicles. Could that work?
I mean, for Waymo, that's probably true because, Google is under such scrutiny by regulators for them to limit a privately owned Waymo-driven, third-party car to just the Waymo One network would be difficult. Tesla's a different beast, though, and Tesla has no interest, I think, in allowing their auto-driven cars to be in the Uber network. And furthermore, then you say, well, what about licensing it? And if someone licensed FSD to an OEM, and then that OEM would then allow that car to be put into the Uber network. No, if Tesla does license to an OEM, they will also have that same restriction where they will not permit that to be put into the Uber or Lyft network. And secondly, in terms of this licensing, I know that Elon talks about it and they're talking to OEMs, and there's certainly desperation on the OEM's standpoint, or there should be shortly, to have some type of autonomy strategy. But I think what licensing looks like from Tesla is more of like, hey, here's what we did. Here are the specifications. Here's the book on how you do FSD. Now go and do it. And I think that is a very fearful position for an OEM to enter, as opposed to, let's say, Nuro, who's going to work with you as the OEM, or May Mobility, who's going to have cross engineers and develop a combined, roadmap to integration. Tesla's not going to do that. They're going to say, here it is, go do it. It's on you. And when you do it, you still can't plug those cars into Uber's network. So as a result, I'm not sure that OEMs today are at that point to cut those deals. I could be wrong. Again, a note of the desperation. But if you wanted a Tesla operated car, that's probably going to take an OEM 3-4 years, given how slow they move, to deliver something like that into the market. So that does not seem like something that's appealing to an OEM to move forward. We'll see.